For some context on what makes this so scary for my friend, this happened to her when she used to work at a coffee shop called Tim Hortons. Now, this happened sometime back in 2018. It was around February, and she already has a story to tell. Now, this is back when she used to do night shifts from like 10 to 6 in the morning. The night shifts were pretty easy, even though she wasn't a fan of them. It was still pretty quiet, as she would only get a few customers, but that's just about it. Only a few customers throughout the night, as most of the places have been closed due to it being nightfall and stuff like that. Now, I am going to call my friend Emily for the sake of this story, as she used to work there. I'm not going to give her last name for personal reasons, but we'll just call her Emily. Emily was working at a restaurant in Tim Hortons. If you live in Canada, it's a coffee shop for those who are wondering. Now, as Emily was doing the night shift and came in for her usual, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., she was working with a few of her other workers, and she was doing her usual thing. Her usual thing would consist of taking their orders from in the drive-thru and serve them through the window. Sometimes she would take the opportunity to be the cashier at the front of the store, and etc. One day she was working on duty, which would be taking people's orders from the drive-thru. One night though, it was actually pretty freaky. She was waiting for an order until she saw a car pulled up to the speaker. "Hello, welcome to Tim Hortons. How may I help you?" she said. But there was no voice on the other line. But there was a car right there. Excuse me, hello," she said, trying to get their attention, so she said it again. "Welcome to Tim Hortons. How may I help you?" But there was still no response, which was freaky. So she went out to the back door to see if anyone was there. But when she got out there, she saw the car right there, but she didn't know why nobody was answering. She thought maybe it might have been the speaker broken, as the speaker does break at times, and sometimes people can't really hear, so they'll just pull up to the window. She walks up to see an old man. He looks like he might have been in his 50s. He looked like if he was homeless or something. He looked like he hadn't showered in weeks. So he was quite confused, so he looked at her. "Hello, sir. Welcome to Tim Hortons. How may I help you?" "I think our speaker must be broken," she said. "Oh, that's all right," said the man. "I know this speaker breaks down occasionally." "What's your name, Emily?" Surprisingly, this guy knew this Emily's name, even though she wear the name tag. So she said, yeah, sorry about that. Would you like a coffee? What would you like to eat? What would you like to have?" she asked. So he said, "Oh, just give me a medium double-double." "Okay." Emily just told him the cost, and he pulled up to the window. But when Emily got there, she got her give him the guy his coffee, and then he left. But surprisingly though, she was on her break and went back to her car to see that same car still in the driveway in a deserted plaza. There was nothing there, but she do notice that something was not right. However, she did notice that something strange was going on with this man. So as she was sitting in her car, probably trying to contemplate on what she just saw with this guy's eyes, he got out of his car and walked towards her. "Hey, Emily, I really want to know something. Can I get your number?" But that's when Emily said, "No, thank you. I already have a boyfriend, and you're too old for me." Well, this guy sounded upset. All of a sudden, he pulls out a gun and has my friend at gunpoint. He said with these words, Don't bullcrap me. You better listen to what I say," he said. Emily was still at gunpoint, and luckily one of the employees was coming back from her break, noticed this, and said, "Hey, what are you doing with my co-worker?" The guy just ended up putting his gun away and jumping back in his car and driving out. Luckily, my friend got to know what the car looked like, but didn't get the license plate. So my co-worker and her co-worker and even Emily called the police, but they're not sure if the guy was ever found. But they never saw him again since this night. Now, Emily never had any other disturbing encounters since that on her night shift, but she will never forget that time. She doesn't know if this guy is still out there today, but he was long gone since that night. In 2018, around March, something freaky happened to my friend and I when we were on our way back from the riding stable. Now, we were coming there for our makeup lesson as we missed one of the days of riding due to the snow being really painful in the ass, and even we couldn't go because we had too much snow. It was also a snowstorm on that day, so I couldn't really blame them that much. Now, Emily and I, which that's my best friend's name, Emily, we were both driving back from our makeup lesson as it was late at night. It was pitch black, so we had to put the high beams on. And when there was other cars coming, we turned them off, but we also had the headlights on, so then that way we could see where we're going. The side roads at night were pretty freaky, as you never know what could really happen. Anything to, almost hitting an animal to almost going off the wrong side of the road and etc. Something freaky happened while we were driving home that night, and we were honestly pretty scared and shooken up. We were driving around to get back home, taking the long way with that road. As we were driving on the side road, my friend all of a sudden pulls over as she had a phone call. As Emily was talking to what seemed to be her boyfriend on the phone, I saw something or someone rustling in the bushes, but I couldn't really clearly see if it was an animal or a person. I got out of the car and looked around and called out if anyone was there. But surprisingly, there was nobody there. And when Emily got off the phone, she asked me if something was wrong. I see something in the woods, but I don't know what it is, I replied to Emily. Emily then took a look around, and she called out if anyone was there, but there was nobody there, and this was starting to get really freaky. We took our flashlights and walked to what seemed to be the trail. It was the same trail that where it used to be a railroad track a long time ago to get from one city to the other city. But we couldn't see anybody. And then Emily looked up and she could see that there was a tall figure standing about a couple feet. It was on the path and it was about 25 feet away. Surprisingly, we don't know if it was a man or a woman, but whatever it was then just took off into the night. We called out and tried to run after the person, but we couldn't find him as he disappeared. What's scary though is that we saw something on the ground. We picked up and realized that the contents in there was consents of drugs. We reported it to the authorities and told the police and even the authorities of where we found this kind of stuff, but the police never found him. There or her. We're not sure who or what was in that woods that night or in that trail, but regardless, we never saw it again. I am not sure if they ever found him, but I really hope they do. This happened to my mom back in 2019 when we just moved into our new place. Now, I'm not going to give the location of the town, but I'm just going to say it was a small place that had at least 2 grocery stores, 2 gas stations, an auto shop, and even a few other stores like clothing stores and fast food places, and even there were a few of the dog stores and pet stores and that. However, my mom had to go to the dollar store as she had forgotten something that we left back at home. I don't remember what it is, but it was something that my mom remembered that we forgot, and she had to go back in the town we used to live in the next day. So in the meantime, she said that she was gonna go and see if she could find anything, that's similar to what she wanted. I can't remember what it was, but I think it might have been a shelving unit or something. And in other words, it was something that my mom had in her room before my dad started doing the things we didn't like to us. So my dad ended up going to be in a separate way, and same with my mom. So my mom was in the dollar store and she was in one of the aisles when there was a man that she had never seen before. She wasn't sure who he was since she was new to the town, but he looked pretty nice and friendly. But something tells her that something was off-putting about the man. The man then walked down the aisle and passes my mom. "Hello there," he said. My mom says hi back, and then she continues. Now, this guy was around his 40s, and was about maybe close to 6 feet tall. But my mom didn't really bother, but she felt uncomfortable by this man. Almost every aisle she went to, the man was always there, but didn't pay much attention to her. When she got what she needed and go to the checkout line, the man was behind her. Not right behind her, but there was a few other people that he was behind. Now, my mom got home, and I asked her if things went okay, and she said yeah, but there was a guy she didn't even know who he was. I'm assuming maybe it was just some creep looking for attention, and that's what my mom thought. But surprisingly, she told my best friend, and then my mom told me something. She said that man was a sex offender, but she never understood who the guy's name was or anything like that. I don't know what this guy was thinking of doing to my mom, or what his plans were to do, but that still frightens me to this day. But I'm glad my mom's never seen him again since she went to the dollar store. She still hasn't seen him again, but I don't know if he was ever caught. I really like to think that he was caught, though. To cut to the chase, this happened to my ex-boyfriend back when I was dating with him at the time. Now, this happened back in 2018, in April. What happened is that my boyfriend and guy at the time got really sick. It was some sort of cold that was been going on at the school, and of course it was really something to say. Now, one day my boyfriend's mom had to go out to do some stuff, like going shopping, go to physio, and etc. And her sister, his oldest sister, moved out, and his younger sister was at school. So with nothing else to do since he couldn't go to school, he decided to watch some Netflix. He was watching, I think it was Gravity Falls, when he heard a knock from the door. His dog named Cola, was barking at whatever it was outside. My boyfriend gets up to go find out what it was, but he couldn't see anybody at the door. Thinking it might have been some ding-dong ditcher, he decided to continue watching Gravity Falls. About maybe 5 minutes later, he heard a knock again, and then he heard the dog barking again, but this time it came from the back door. My boyfriend walked upstairs and couldn't see anybody, which was really strange. He then opened the door at the backyard and called out if anyone was there and that they have to come out as it wasn't funny. But there was nobody there. So this was leaving my boyfriend confused. Who or what was making the knocking noises? But of course my boyfriend shrugged and he went back to watching Gravity Falls. I think maybe an hour later he was watching The Walking Dead on Netflix when suddenly he looked over to see that now his dog was barking aggressively, like if he was in protective mode. Now, that was when my boyfriend got up to go see what it was, but when he looked over, he called out if anyone was there, but there was no one there. Now, this was something that was really freaky, was who was there, but they couldn't find anybody. Now, my boyfriend then called his mom and asking her if she was home, which of course she said no, and she was still out. He saw an unfamiliar car that was parked not far from the driveway, so he ended up calling the police. He ended up locking himself in one of the bathrooms that have a window, which was a good close call, to be completely honest. But as he was just sitting in the bathroom with his dog, calling, he could hear banging coming from the back door, and he can hear it. He thought that the door was going to break through any second, but thankfully it didn't. When the cops arrived, they couldn't find the man, and he was already gone, but my boyfriend took down every little bit of detail he knew about who was there. He couldn't see who was banging on the door, though, but he could say that the vehicle was a black Toyota or something. The cops thanked him so much and they left, and that results in the mom coming home early. Now, my ex-boyfriend still lives in the same house, but he never seen that guy again. I'm not sure what he was trying to do, but whatever this guy had planned was probably not good.